We're here at the Loadout Studios.
Yeah, which is like really impressive, to be fair, mate. Like, so jealous. I think there's going to be a lot of unit envy, isn't there? I think it's going to get loads of backlash from it.
Have you lost your excitement for tools, or is it?
No, it's more than ever. Yeah, but I love them. Clearly, I hope. But
Really?
Yeah.
I think you got a bit of a problem, mate. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, I spent weeks in here sorting this out. Like the racking didn't care, decorating didn't care, but in here, been meticulously doing it. And I'm still not happy with it, but it's getting there.
You've said that people are you're appointment only, isn't it? And people can come and have a look. So
yeah, it's primarily a warehouse. It's just not set up for just people turning up. Like there's got no parking and stuff. It's an industrial estate. It's quite hard to find, which I like. But I do want to have people come in and stuff. So yeah, we're doing like an appointment only thing. I don't know how many appointments, but just going to see. You don't want to get overwhelmed and stuff. Just want to manage it really. But
It's very cool. For people watching or listening through audio only, we're literally sitting in the electrician tool mecca.
It is really cool, isn't it? I mean, to describe it, you've got obviously you've got camo netting everywhere, and it's all branded everywhere.
Sitting in an armoury.
Yeah, it is like the armoury. Yeah.
It's be like an armoury, but
I feel like you need a gun rack of something. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll have to sort something out.
I think
on there.
For people listening as well, should we just identify ourselves?
Yes.
Yeah.
Should we identify each other?
I don't know. Yeah, you can do.
Go on then. So sitting just to my right, got Mike, also known as Residual Current, famous in the electrical industry, pioneer of Instagram, electrician, not influencer life.
I don't know about that.
I think also with you, Mike, I think it's fair to say from my point of view, it's like the lead in for your YouTube videos, isn't it? For industrial sparking, that's how I first came about you as well, and that's
all round top bloke.
Yeah, it's yeah, and that's it. Too much smoke up the arse, isn't it?
That's it.
Yeah, it's good.
To my right is the better Mike.
Yeah, nice.
Mike from Greenhawk Construction. I watch his YouTube videos. He's you are an electrician, aren't you? But you put your hand to all sorts. And quite a growing business as well. So fair play. It's good to watch your journey, and it's a real insight into a business, which is what I like.
Good.
As well.
That's what we try to portray, because it's hard, isn't it? Because obviously, majority of the followers who people know me are Sparkies and stuff, and it's but obviously I'm one of the owners of a construction company, and that's what people don't really see. So we'll get more into that. And sitting opposite me is obviously Cory, and for those of you who don't know Cory, Cory you're obviously a very talented Sparky as well yourself, aren't you, mate? And most infamously known, I suppose, as working for Jordan at Artisan, aren't you, mate? But also a very talented musician, which people don't realise, which you have only just started telling people about that you do that.
Yeah, I was a closet musician for a long time.
Yeah, and you've just
people
come out the closet
suspected
with
other things.
Yeah,
but
well,
yeah, it was music the whole time. The whole time.
Yeah.
Don't let the yellow jacket deceive you.
Yeah.
No, thank you very much. Yeah, so we're here on this podcast to have electrical chit chat. I think I don't imagine many people will be watching this on YouTube. Maybe people just for the sheer masculine energy probably have a lot of you'd sort of men's health consumers, that kind of general market and audience.
Yeah.
People just want to see peak masculinity. But
alpha males, I think they call it.
I would call it that, yeah. But for most people, it's probably going to be sitting in traffic on the way to their first job, on the way home, while they're eating their lunch.
Hopefully it's a good job.
So let's make it something interesting and educational. And I'm thinking, we was having a discussion earlier, I was eating our Dominoes, about renewable energy. And we're going to be going pretty heavy into this on this episode. Not in this episode, sorry, in this series. We got some pretty big hitters from the renewables industry. We've got everything from future tech, which is mind-blowing stuff that I never would have even thought of until Smarty Pants show it to us, I bet that was lovely. For people eating their lunch, I would probably put them off their sandwiches. To the EV industry, PV industry, all the rest of it, all the big hitters. And I think it's pretty cool.
Oh, definitely. I think the industry, the way it's going, is wicked. You know, I'm new to getting into EV side. I mean, for the last few years of when we're building extensions, we've always been putting in EV cables ready to go. Provisions, yeah, I suppose, which is now becoming mandatory for new builds, which we'll get onto in a minute. But so for me, I'm very, very new into it, whereas obviously you, Cory, have been doing it for a long time. And essentially, I know it's just a radial, and people go, oh, it's just a radial, this, that, and the other. But it's not. It's a bigger picture than that. It's actually what it's serving, you know. And I think it's changing obviously the car industry as well. It's changing that massively, you know, because people now are going, I'm actually going to start thinking about electric cars. It's more viable now than what it's ever been.
Well, I think it's quite consumer-wise. There's a lot of awareness on it. Where, I mean, we can all relate trying to explain to, you know, some old lady why she needs an RCD or an SPD or something, and it's just. But EV and cars and stuff, it's something tangible to a normal person, isn't it? They see an electric car advert, or they get told, you know, EV this, EV that. So I think it's quite relatable, isn't it? Quite
more than a radial circuit, it's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be the name of the episode. More than a radial.
There's the intro sorted straight away, isn't it?
More than a woman.
Except
more than a radio.
Yeah, it's pretty much a glorified shower circuit with a lot of technical bits and bits.
The kit, it's about the kit.
It's the end,
good quality
end
kit.
Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? Because I obviously, like I say, I'm new into it, so I've been trying to do a lot of different things, and I think I'm going more of the Hypervault.
How did you find it getting into it?
It's something I should have done ages ago, really, and it was just that.
I think you're still ahead of the curve, though.
Yeah, I think so, but I've got dyslexia, and I don't like, and I dropped out of school and all sorts of stuff like that, which is I'm not the only one, but there's loads of different things and reasons why I did. But so I've always not believed in myself. So anything when it comes to training, things like that, always went, no, I'm not doing it. And I always put myself down. So taking on Jack, my electrical apprentice, we've got some other apprentices, but Jack, mine in particular, I've gone, well, if I'm pushing him to do something and learn, then maybe I should start practicing what I preach. So I thought, do you know what? I'm going to go and do my EV, and I'm going to go and do a load of other stuff. And there's
no better way to teach something as well than fully understanding it.
Exactly. So that's what I've done, yeah. And I and it's by the time this goes out, I've got my first 2 booked in for next week. Well, the week after it is, but by the time this goes out, they'd have been done, you know. And it's just that it's something, especially in my area where I'm from, it's just not pushed at all by anybody, and I think it's just crazy because it needs to push more.
I mean, I've got some controversial opinions. I don't know if I'm going to chuck the curveballs in too soon, but I think it's a load of rubbish.
What EV?
Yeah. I think it's not the best thing for us right now. Like, if it's my choice, my next car will be an EV. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's terrible, but it's absolutely not the future. It's not fully sustainable.
Yeah.
And this is coming from someone who's worked. I've worked at like Corys, battery recycling, and all these amazing, cool places that are working hard to make this thing work. But I think, why were we not doing this 100 years ago?
Yeah.
Because of money. It's not an issue of of saving the environment. That it's an issue of lobbying and government and tax.
Yeah.
And
there's also the infrastructure as well. We're not set up yet.
We're
so far behind.
No, we got petrochemical infrastructure.
You know, it's a problem.
Yeah. It is infrastructure, isn't it, in many ways?
Yeah.
And how much of that infrastructure can be utilised to make these EV vehicles? You know, I'm pretty sure.
If you wanted it to happen,
of an EV vehicle, I know it ends up neutral. But
did you have milk floats when you were younger?
Yeah, I'm a lot older than you lot.
So that milk float was electric. That probably had more miles on it than Jordan's VW transporter, you know, and that was then.
Yeah.
How much further have lithium cells and that kind of tech come on?
I mean, my dad's got a hybrid, and I borrowed that, right? And I drove all the way to Scotland, and this is not a good... No, he's got a Kia Niro, and I borrowed that. I thought, do you know what? Let's give that a run out. So I went up to Scotland. It's roughly 300 miles there, and I spent more in fuel on that than I did on my wife's Volvo XC90.
Because after a certain speed, it drops out and you're left with an inefficient engine.
And I was purposely sticking to the speed limits. I thought, I want a bit of a real world test, and then I've come away from it going, I ain't buying one of them. This is so. If you haven't just bought a Kia Niro hybrid, they're great cars, but just not.
It's a pretty ideology, though, isn't it? That we're we're all going to adopt EV cars and then change the world
Well,
together.
it's people talking about, you were talking about earlier, weren't you, prosumerism?
Yes.
So rather than consuming or exporting or whatever, creating, you're consuming what you make. So having, I guess...
Well, it's a bit of all of that. It's so there's a lot of this, if it comes out, there'll be a lot of this, there'll be a whole new chapter in the latest amendment of the regulations.
I know you can't talk about brands and all the rest of it,
Yeah.
NDAs and stuff, but have you got anything that you can share? That's
So,
a clue.
Well, it's just everything that's in the DPC really. So they've proposed a whole new chapter about prosumers and what, there's new definitions as to what that is and all that sort of stuff. And it's essentially, a consumer is obviously someone who just consumes electricity. A prosumer is someone who's doing both. So they're consuming it from the grid, but they're also producing it themselves, whether that's through plugging in their EV vehicle and putting the energy back on the grid, solar panels, there's all sorts, micro turbines, all sorts of renewable energy sources, and they'll be coming as stuff gets cheaper, more developed, supposedly. They'll be coming more attainable, a mini turbine in everyone's garden, or a turbine that serves a whole cul-de-sac of houses isn't too far away. But what they're suggesting, and what I think they're sort of laying the foundations of, is there's not enough. The energy usage is getting higher and higher and higher. Electricity prices are about to go through the roof. I don't know if you're aware of that.
They are.
And the grid as well is, I don't know about the cable going into your house, but the one going into mine, and it's a new build, is still tiny. When you consider these 32 amp chargers everywhere, and then they want to get rid of gas boilers.
Yeah, that's right.
They want to, have a ground source or air source heat pump again,
Which is going to use a heap of electricity as well, like constant load.
So all this stuff
and refrigerant gas and everything else.
I think the network, there's been concerns raised by people far smarter than me, but the network is not up for it. And we can spend, God knows how much money and time renewing the network and all the upheaval. I don't think you'd be able to do it fully anyway. But what I think they're gearing towards is people becoming, producers of their own electricity as much as reasonably possible. And that's what the chapter's about. There's so much to it, so much to unpack, and I'm not going to pretend to fully understand it.
Trouble I find is you then come down to like almost financial discrimination. It's like how much money you've got in your bank account is whether or not you deserve to be able to drive to your nan's on Friday.
Do you know what the other thing as well with that is, like, there's a little, there's kind of a little village
11 kilowatts.
And it's like an old miners' village. So there's obviously like a lot of old miners sort of terraced, should I say.
Careful what you say about miners. It's from Blanavon.
I know, You've got to watch for the Welsh, which we do love, just saying. And they're all loop supplies. So that's obviously, you're all right if you got the first one. It's all right, just got my Tesla, we're all good. Next door, you can't. Yeah, and I know they're saying that...
Sort of trace heating through the road.
They're now saying
no
that...
snow.
They're going... that the utilities company will sort that out. But there's only going to come to so much, and then they're going to go, do you know what? I can't afford all this.
They won't even fit an isolator sometimes.
I know, that's what I'm saying. So they're telling you one thing, but what actually happens is another, isn't it?
I think the future is prosumerism for sure, but in hydrogen tech. And I think how much we subsidise petrochemical companies and or even just natural gas, fracking, all these types of things where we're just pumping tons and tons of money into it. Pump that into companies that are actually going to do something smart with it. But there's no incentives on it. There's no incentives. But hydrogen, the most abundant element in our atmosphere. Okay, you think of our Earth, how much of it's made up of water, H2O. So you've got an immense amount of hydrogen in our atmosphere. And what you were talking about earlier, grid balancing. Okay, so one day the wind's blowing, fantastic. All of our wind turbines are producing tremendous amounts of electricity. And so is Netherlands, so is wherever else, and we're all charging our Teslas and everything great. Then one winter's day, the sun isn't shining, the wind's not blowing. What, is the country just going to shut down? And do you think you're going to have lithium cells big enough to back that up?
That's the thing, because they're on about doing, obviously the like power banks and stuff are coming in a lot more, but but again, there's such a massive investment.
And how many life cycles has a lithium cell got in it? The process of electrolysis is limitless.
How much
you
can
cost?
That's what I'm saying. I know me personally.
Build your house out of batteries.
I'm like, they ain't gonna. I can't afford. I can't justify that.
No.
So it's just not going to happen.
And if you can't, imagine poor old Doreen who can't afford to keep her heat on anyway. It's like, do I eat or do I heat my house?
solid-state fuse board.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
You know.
It's old Wilex 3036 fuse board, and
Yeah.
it's like, do I keep my heating on or do I eat my dinner tonight?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, sorry, love, but you're actually, to try and push renewable energy, we're going to put energy prices up even more. We're going to tax it even harder. But you can go buy a Tesla Powerwall if you've got 30 grand sitting
Well,
around.
funnily enough, there's a client who's got me through YouTube, and I went and tested his house, and he's just had air source heating put in. And he said, oh, what do you think to it? And he said, it's a bit early to tell, but the people who installed it were rough as hell. I was like, okay. So I had a look at it, and man, it's the roughest install ever. And he's like,
oh, did you put some pictures of that on Instagram?
Possibly.
I think I might have seen that on your story.
Yes, no, I have put in. Yeah, there has been. Sorry, and I said to him, I can't leave this. When I come back to do this, I've got to sort this out properly. But I said, have you noticed a big difference, in your heating? And he says, not at all. He says, I haven't noticed any difference. And also, because the radiators have to be so much bigger than to compensate obviously, the outlay. He goes, I've lost half my wall space, in here because I've got this whacking great radiator on. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I think he said, oh, truth be told, I wish I hadn't done it. And this is he won't mind me saying, he's of senior years, and you think it's almost like you've been talked into doing something, whether it's an upsell side of things. And I think whereas I've had clients have asked me about air source, and I said, look, I don't know too much about it, but I know what I do know for things like aesthetic-wise, your radiator's going to be twice the size of that one. And they're like, I don't want that. Well, that's out straight away.
Even if you've got underfloor heating or something like that, you think the only way it makes sense is if you have a PV array and you're not on a good feedback tariff and your generation is far more than your consumption. And you've got battery storage or something to shift your consumption versus generation curves. Because you think most of the time your heating's on when you get back from work at night time. Yeah. And when's that going to go? And a lot of them they have for your hot water tank, for example, you have to have an element and then that will just top up the heat, that certain bit extra. So, or they'll keep, I think it's the other way around, sorry, that will keep it at a set temperature and then you'll have an electric element that will bring it up to...
It's like a boost, isn't it? Yeah.
Exactly. So you think it's not actually... They go, oh, I've got solar, so I can run my house for free.
Yeah,
I'll get an electric.
on.
No, I'm sorry, you're making a kilowatt a day off of your massive array. Yeah. The only way I see it working is everyone having electrolyzers. You did electrolysis in your GCSE science. It's the easiest process, and maybe the science behind it can be more complicated with your anode and your cathode and positive and negative charges on them. But the actual basic principle of it, if you didn't know the science, you could do it in your shed and create your own hydrogen from the sun, from tidal, from whatever you wanted. If you've got running water and some sort of energy, so you think one day where you've got a massive surge in demand, a huge peak, okay, we'll capture that in hydrogen, because again, humongous amounts of it on Earth is carbon negative, because when you're putting out the hydrogen, you're pumping oxygen into the air, because it's H2O. And then when you want that energy back, okay, take the hydrogen, recombine it with oxygen, boom, the outlay is water and an electrical charge. So you think you could have electrolysis going in your garage, and at the minute it seems so far out. Yeah. But then 10 years ago, having 19-inch rack-mounted batteries probably seemed far out. Yeah, people have them now.
And electric vehicles.
Electric vehicles, sci-fi is just science that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah. I think prosumerism and what they're suggesting is by everyone adopting it, it's almost like it will be metered and monitored in such a way where this town or this estate is in an abundance of electricity, but then this place isn't, and diverting. Yeah. And that's a ways away yet. I think they're literally introducing the idea, and this will be a...
It's managing it, isn't it?
That's why Hypervault are doing so well, because their philosophy isn't car chargers. It is mainly, I think, from what I understand of it, it's about grid balancing. It's like all of them will mesh together and create this.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so from my understanding is it's because the problem is if you don't know and you get your grant. It used to be £500, I think, per install. It's £350 now, but it's an absolute nightmare to actually claim the grant and actually to become registered and all the rest of it. And so, because obviously the government, and there's not mistakes and all that sort of stuff. So there's a lot of red tape to get through, should I say? And then So when you so let's say, like for me, I do my first one, for example, although it's running out at the end of March, I think it is. But if you do your first one, then you're not likely to get paid between 3 and 6 months for your first one, and then it rolls on. I mean, a guy spoke to me who's in, quite close to me, and he said, I've been waiting 6 months for my first one, and he's just a one-man band, and he said, I can't afford, and he says, this is just madness, and he says, so I'm out, I'm not doing any more, and which is quite sad. So Hypervault,
or charge them extra, and then the grant is a bonus, I guess. You could charge them the extra £350 and say, like, I guess you just have to put your rates up.
Yeah, well,
so you can afford
Hypervault, what they did is they said, well, we'll front you that £350, and then obviously I don't exactly know the ins and outs of it, but they'll front it up. They take. I imagine they're not going to do it for the goodness.
I guess for them
heart.
It's like an interest-free loan. A lot of people do that kind of thing to sell their product.
They're getting the sell and the product fitted, and obviously the service life of that product, and so it's beneficial for them.
And it's
a new product.
Yeah, well, I didn't realise
they're looking at grid balancing. That's like a huge thing, which I think is pretty cool, because that's going to be a huge issue, and I think they're trying to stay ahead of the curve. So it's like if there is a huge surge in that neighbourhood, they can talk to the local DNO, balance it down, they can talk to all of their charges in the area and adjust it, which is
a big
cool
thing.
Really clever, really cool stuff, yeah.
There's a big thing in chapter 82 in the prosumer chapter about island mode as well, which is essentially cutting off from the grid.
Yeah.
And it makes it sound quite glamorous, and with the DIY history of our trade, I think we need to make a massive distinction there. But
we're in the right industry, aren't we, right now? Where the way things are going, we're seriously in a good industry.
Definitely.
That needs to be managed, though, right? You can't have, someone thinking that they can go down B&Q and put their house into island mode. Yeah. But it's a cool concept, and I don't know if it would be for everyone, and you'd have to produce probably a lot of electricity. It's like I think they're saying about a housing estate could go into island mode.
But I think they should do that. I think they should start looking into that more, because there's let's face it, we all know of new housing estates that are going up. So they should be almost doing that.
Free phase into some housing estates and stuff as well.
And this is what I mean. They need to start thinking of maybe we can do self-generating here on this one as a trial. Maybe they are, and we don't even know. It's
have a field of solar and a wind turbine that serves these 1,000.
So much of it's about bottom line. There's no. It won't happen. While there's money involved, it will not happen.
Also,
unfortunately.
what about all the old homes? 99% of
yeah, exactly.
And if you're going to change over into island mode, that comes to a whole other heap of issues going into TT. You can't still
and
be.
That needs to be managed.
To change over contactors on every house and.
That's got to be bulletproof.
And you imagine you turn up to change a board there, it's going to be completely different.
Like we're worried about pen faults. Yeah. Do you know have you heard of a single case of someone dying for pen faults?
You're almost creating that situation every time.
And we are literally making it, So it's crazy stuff. We're doing that on a project at the minute with, I've been doing a little bit every now and then with Chile Electrical.
Yeah.
The house we're working at is really cool. I think I'm sure we're allowed to talk about it. I don't imagine the customer will be watching this. But it's he's got a huge PV array on the roof of this converted barn. He's got 2 big batteries out the back, and they're going to be able to switch over into island mode. So just sorting out changeover contacts and things so that you can do that. But that is it's a cool concept. But again,
it's like going off
thermodynamics. Everything's going to wear out. Everything's going to. So it's like minimising those things. And you think if everything's going to wear out, and you've got a battery, it's only got so many life cycles in it. Battery in my van's knackered, and that's just from start to stop.
So we used to have a tipper trailer, right? Because obviously it's a construction company primarily, and we used to have a tipper trailer, and it's obviously you put a leisure battery on, which is essentially what you'd be using as a power bank as such. And they don't last forever, you've got to then constantly be updating these things because
they about a £100 leisure battery.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. It went a knacker, and we were like, oh, for God's sake, got to go and
got to remove all of your power walls in your house.
Yeah. Again, just a huge, big, fat tank of hydrogen coming in from the North Sea. All them offshore wind turbines that are sitting there ticking away, transferring, making huge losses, transferring them over them distances. Have an oil rig, pump it out there, big fat electrolyzer pumping loads of hydrogen, oil tankers running on hydrogen, bring them to each local town.
Yeah.
Have those hydrogen tanks and run it all on hydrogen.
Do you think it's because it can be quite the recipe for an explosion, can't it? Do you think that's it, or do you think there's just not?
Oh, everything's dangerous. When I
suppose fuel is.
I've not seen any pictures of like off the coast of Mexico of seals and fish drowning in hydrogen. They're all oil was terrible for the environment. And what's funny is a lot of the legislation and lobbying has slowed down the hydrogen industry and the rollout. Like, I don't know the exact details, but people can look it up themselves. But I know, for example, there was a tank that was developed, and it was a membrane that would go inside of it, and it would store 4 times as much hydrogen per unit, whatever measurement of unit you're using, whatever size or whatever. So say for every 100 bar, you get 400 bar in there worth of hydrogen, because this would soak it up.
Insane, right?
It's insane because that transforms your... And from what I understand...
Every trip's 4 times.
From what I understand, it was like shut down because, and I imagine probably by people who own oil companies and stuff, because it was like, oh, it could be considered carcinogenic, this, that and the other. I'm sorry. Yeah, maybe if you ate it, but like I don't imagine eating. I don't fancy showering.
Chugging on.
When I get on my hands, I usually wash them.
I don't climb in front of diesel.
No, I mean, any new technology is going to have its risks. Everything's going to. People are going to die. When people pushed into the American West in 1848 or whatever, that was an awful lot of deaths. No matter what revolutionary thing, there's going to be accidents. There's going to be pioneers and things that go wrong. But you have to pay that cost to get somewhere. And I think for the future of the renewable industry and energy and not destroying our planet completely for selfish gain, it's the only way to do it.
There's got to be sacrifice, isn't there, really? And I say that people have got to invest. They've got to invest in the right way to change
Maybe
things.
just find people on their last legs, like just hire very aged seniors to do all the testing.
Guinea pigs.
Yeah. Send them in there, like give them, nice ATEX rated equipment and flash suits and stuff. Be like, can you go switch that on, please? I'm going to be 3 miles that way.
I'll make you a tea.
The switch for the kettle was just
there'll be a tea went for you.
Big red one with the key. Just push that. Cheers.
Yeah. Milk and sugar. You're all right.
Right. Let's change the subject before we get to we get down the rabbit hole. And we'll have like all the conspiracy theorists patting us on the back.
And some very weird comments on this.
It'll go over ways and divide the room. Either have, completely agree, or you complete morons. Probably more the latter. Mike, I know we did a podcast before, but I think I screwed up the audio. But that's what he said anyway. I could still kind of blame Jordan, to be honest.
We can always blame Jordan. I think it's easier to do that.
To clarify, this is Jurassic Jordan. This isn't Jurassic Jordan's the guy. He did stuff with Jurassic 5.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he's the media guy for Loadout. Yeah, but we talked mental health, and I thought that was really cool actually, because you're quite a pioneer for it. You're quite well known for it on Instagram.
I think it's really important. Me personally, I openly talk about it. I've got my own struggles, and I think when you look back, I think I've always had it of various degrees, should I say. I've had a lot going on in my life, and I've had, I've lost people who obviously I cared a lot about, and obviously then what happens as you get older, we're all in that macho industry, obviously Sparky's, construction industry, just sites, whatever. No, you don't talk about this, you don't talk about that. And then I really, really took a downward spiral in the first lockdown, really, is what really...
Was that the first time?
That was the first time I was... Wow. It's a tough subject, but it was the first time where I was probably one of my lowest, should I say. And
do you think it's because it maybe gave you time to stop?
Too much time to think.
And
yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think you're right, Mike. I think the problem is that I'm a workaholic, and everyone who knows me, I'm everything's a million miles an hour. If I make a decision, bang, it wants to happen. If I should change a car, that's happening. I'm one of these sort of people, and pain in the arse, really. And when we were told to stop, we were on, that's it, 5 weeks, and I didn't know what to do with myself, and it was too much time. And I've got a lovely family, I've got lovely kids. My youngest was, what would he been then, 2 at the time, and all the things where you look back at yourself and you think, oh, why should I be feeling like this? This is ridiculous. And I
like
just
you've got everything going for you.
Yeah, I've got everything.
From the outside, anyway.
I think there's loads of people like,
snapped them out of the days they were in. And reassess.
It was horrible sensation. I wasn't sleeping. I couldn't think of, I don't know when the next bit of money's coming in, and I've got responsibility. I've got lads who work for me, and my business partner. I've got 2 other business partners, which they're fantastic. We are best mates. That's whichever way we look at it, we're best mates, and so they're really supportive of everything. And I just thought I've got to do something about this. And I was watching a lot of YouTubers because you got no other time. I can't sleep. What does everyone do? They go on the phone, don't they? And you go,
everyone's
look at this.
went through the roof on whatever social.
Yeah, and it was like, right, okay, I've got to do something. And then I've just picked up my phone, and it was about 12 o'clock at night, and all my neighbours, they think I'm mental anyway. And I just pressed the button on my garage door, like I say, and it's to everybody else thinking, you flash git, you got an electric door in your garage, and it's not about money, money's not, let's face it, money is important to pay your bills, but as we were saying earlier on, it doesn't actually make you that happy. And press the button on my door, went in the garage.
It's nice to be crying in a garage with electric doors than to be crying in like a wooden shed.
But or in the wheelies.
Make you happier.
But
it's a nicer environment to be in.
And you do sound like a bit of a arsehole, don't you? Really, when you talk like that. But
not at all.
But the truth. But I was in the garage and I thought I'm just going to record, and I recorded just how I was feeling and what it was all, and I couldn't. And I've never actually aired it. I showed it to my wife and I showed it to my mum, and they were both very upset. But it's the only way that I thought I've got to get this off my chest, and it helped. I know it sounds stupid,
it's getting out of there,
and it is. And we were saying this about your music and stuff, and it helped. And I thought, do you know what? I'm going to do more of them. So then I started just sitting in the van and I was doing those sorts of things, and then it's just snowballed, and I will talk to anyone. Anyone knows me, I'll talk like mad, and I will talk to anyone about it. I post on Instagram about mental health, and recently I've had another bit of a downward spell because my dad was in hospital very poorly with various different things, and then my wife had COVID, and then which obviously it was hard going. She's fine, but at the time it was very hard going. I got kids and we were worried about that, and then my uncle, who I'm incredibly close with, which long-term illness sort of thing, but we knew it was happening, and he passed away, and it just too much for me, and funnily enough, yesterday I actually I got a phone call because my first ever client passed away, and 15 years ago he gave me a chance, and in those 15 years,
your first ever client for your business,
for my business, and I've
first ever client to die and say you've got the secret Alexa, you come and work at my house.
And that's the thing. So I've known him 15 years. I've done work for him just for over those years. I've become friends with his son, and we used to go around, and so we've done loads of work for him, and it was actually his funeral yesterday. And we went to his funeral because we just felt it was the right thing to do. It was just paying the respect to somebody who paid my first paycheck.
Another example where it's like life is not about money in business. Money in business will get you to where you need to be. Sure, sometimes quicker, expedite things, but it's not like movements like that. It's like, okay, do you either spend the 24 hours that you've got, that could be your last in this system of things? Like, do you want to spend that 24 hours either like earning another paycheck or actually going and paying respect and being like a good human being?
This is the thing. I think the thing is, for me, if we looked at it from a business point of view, we lost a lot of money yesterday because we went as a company, okay? But does it matter?
No,
the son who was there massively appreciated us being there, and that's it. That's what it's all about.
How many builders turn up?
Do you know what? It's funny you say that because we pride ourselves on customers being you're part of that family, okay, and that's how we run it. So you are, once we've done a job for you, we would hope to think that we'll work for you for life, and that's it. That's the way we pride ourselves. And not I'm saying that we'd go to every funeral, just saying, but I was quite honoured to be asked, and we weren't missing it. So we made sure that no matter what, we'd be going. So I promote mental health massively, and I think it's important for people to talk about it because you never know. Just picking. I think we said before is
you still got some
you never know, and you
especially
just
when
got
you're
that
outside, you think, oh, you've got the world on a string, mate. Like,
exactly,
you've got beautiful kids, lovely
Instagram's
wife,
dangerous,
beautiful
isn't
house.
it? Instagram's dangerous.
You're only sharing your best bits.
Yeah, it is. It is.
It's perspective though, right? I know I service an Instagram account and I'm very much aware it's like a highlight reel.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But I think some people don't look at it like that. Some people look at it like that is everything.
Yeah.
And it's like you're getting one 2D picture which you're going to look at for 1 second.
Yeah.
You know, there's 24 hours in a day. It's 365.
You know, I'm having a rubbish day. They're having a great time. They're always doing this.
Yeah,
They're like,
Wow, they've got the best things. They've got and it's mental, really, because you think I wish, because what I do quite often, I'll turn around and just go, yeah, look at that. This is what this idiot's doing, or look what they've got me doing now.
Picture could have been a lifetime's work, or they could have had it in seconds. You just don't know, and you just got to take everything with a pinch of salt.
Exactly.
But
Definitely.
I think like the whole experience of last year, 2021, 2020, is like, you know, you build a house, you don't know how strong the foundations are until a humongous storm comes along.
Yeah.
That was a humongous storm. And I feel like the foundations of people's mind, their mental health,
Yeah.
so many people crumbled. They realised, like, I need to seriously sit down and work on this. Like,
I don't think the
they're
good thing about the very start
People
about
quit their
it.
jobs, changed their jobs, had a realisation.
Oh,
that
mate, I
what
struggled.
we're
I think a
doing,
lot of
you know?
people really
Do
did.
you know what? I think the nice part about it, which is horrible, I know, you know, probably going to get some stick for it, but the nice part, I tried to explain, there's actually a builder working next door to my house at the minute, and he's been doing it a long, long time, and we were chatting, and he said, oh yeah, I suffer with mental health and all that, and so we were talking about it, and I said, lockdown was, and he openly says, I don't really talk about this, and he says, I really struggled in the start of it, and I went, yeah, and that's why it's important to talk, you know, and he's like a 65-year-old guy. And
Old school as well.
yeah, old school. And he says, oh, no, it's really important to talk about it. And I said, the COVID lockdown was the best time and also the worst time for me. Because I had the best time for me was just really reconnecting with my family, my core family, obviously my wife and my kids, and having the time that I would never have had if it wasn't for that.
Yeah.
Other than, obviously, but then the bad time of it is obviously just the mental health issues that it gives. But
you can have that amazing time as well, but then it sits there. For me, it was like, you know what? I spent so much time with my fiance and my kids. This has been amazing. But then I like had this guilt of like, where the hell have I been? As well, you know, and it was like I had that, and then I had to go back to work because we only stopped for like 3 weeks. And then straight back to work, and then it was like, that's how it affected me, and that's why Loadout was born out of it.
yeah,
you know,
but
which
look
is
at it now,
crazy.
and that's the
To
thing.
get your work-life balance
Yeah.
back.
But I think this is the thing. I think the people who have took it as and tried to go, look, it's a crap situation, have turned it into a positive and go, I'm going to focus my energy that I now have got into something productive. And at the end of the day, I do all the social media because I enjoy it. Yeah, and but don't get me wrong, we get business from it and all the rest of it. But I now get more satisfaction when I get messages from people and they'll go, wow, I couldn't believe that you've been so open about that. Like my NIC assessments, right? I hate them every year. And somebody made a comment on one of my YouTube videos and saying I wasn't a real Sparky because I was only registered as domestic installer.
Yeah.
Well, that triggered me. And I was like, okay, mate, they've been telling me for the last 12 years at least that I should have done it. I should have been going on. I never bothered. And because it triggered me, I went, sod you. And I just went and reassessed, and I'd only just been assessed. And I went reassessed again, and I just got, which not many people know, but I've now been made up to an approved contractor just because somebody annoyed me.
Yeah.
And it's that.
It's kind of like,
it is, it's ridiculous.
It's like your public journal a little bit. You know, like I was saying with music, how it's like, I get stuck in my own head, I make something, it's there, it's done, it's like, it's encapsulated into like that little thing that I can then put away and it's done. It's like that thought and that feeling is captured and put away. It's like you're putting it into videos. But actually, do you know what? It's so cool because it's like that's the USP of your channel. And like we've got to put the links to all this as well. On the
We'll put all
description
the
for
links
it,
down
totally,
and
like to Greenhawk and stuff. Because I imagine people listening will be wanting to make you do building work in the house.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, we pride ourselves on just the customer services is what I really enjoy. Like we've just signed off this extension today, and I said to the client, I says, "Oh, you're going to be glad to get rid of us, you know?" Because obviously there's 7 of us, and he's like, "Do you know what? Me and obviously his wife, I won't mention names, but they were saying they were actually going to be really sad to see you go Because
That's good, though,
who am I going
man,
to talk?
because, like-
Who am I going to talk to
All
tomorrow?
right, here's
you know?
a quote for your loft extension.
Yeah, that's like, yeah.
Months.
Oh, there's the bill. But it's true, and
When you
it's
speak to most people and they say, I'm having an extension done, I'm having this done.
Oh, I can't wait for them to be gone. So messy.
House
Oh,
is this and all that.
big
So when you
louts.
get that feedback,
oh, it's amazing. It's the
That's
best thing. I mean, they've got a little grandson who's, I know, going off tangent a little bit, but they've got a little grandson who's the same age as my baby boy. And he absolutely loved the diggers when we were there first thing. So I said, oh, come on, health and safety, shut your ears. I was like, yeah, come on, mate, get on. So he was digging Grandad's extension, you know, and it was all those things. So every time that, because they have him every week, it's like, you're our little man, you know, so we'll have a chat, you know, and he's great. And it's part of that they've, like they've said, is that we wouldn't have that with anyone else because you just don't, a lot of people, they just get this, the construction industry from like the building side, a lot of it's still very old-fashioned, and it's very much of grumpy old farts,
just a
really.
trade, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's just whatever. And the thing is with us, because we do all the trades in-house, is that it's not like I'm just sending some subbies down to that house. It's all done by us, so everyone knows the team, you know, and that's what's so important. So,
especially
yeah.
like battling other contractors.
No,
Don't
oh my
underestimate
God,
how
no.
much you're going to be helping people either. I think it's an average of something like 1 to 2% of people actually comment on videos. So don't underestimate how many people are watching that and thinking, oh, yeah, I'm not the only person that feels that way. Or
yeah, I
the only
hope so.
person
Like I
that-
say, I just hope that if I look at it, if I've helped one person to even, not necessarily because they're suffering, but maybe they look at it and think, oh, maybe my best mate or my brother or my
give some-
family.
just
Just
the
pick up
dialogue.
pick up the phone. Texting's rubbish.
I love that we're
You know.
becoming less of this like stiff upper lip, stupid culture that are just so insistent on like everyone's fine. Like, I think it's great that we're becoming more soppy.
So soft millennials.
Yeah.
that's right, yeah.
Oh, mate, I even have chai lattes now. But no, I think that's awesome, mate.
Okay,
Next
yes.
question. What's the worst electric shock that you've had?
God, you must have more than me on the old voltage-wise and the
You have to be
ampage.
more careful and locking out and
Yeah,
stuff. but
you do, but you know, you still make stupid mistakes, I suppose.
Do you think it's rushing? Every time I've had a shock, which is never, obviously,
Russians, we blame the Russians.
Yeah,
well,
it's always
because
the Russians.
it's always the Russians, mate. Because sneaky. It's just because you're rushing around and you're not being careful, basically.
Commercially, I think it's either Russian, like you say, or it's always incompetence.
Right. I can.
Like, whether it's my own or someone else's. My worst one is I was an apprentice, so I should have known better, but I also was at the my electrical responsibilities were limited, you could say. But I was changing a lighting system in an office to daylight saving, which is essentially, you know, a massive office block. The 3 rows of lights around the perimeter. You put in what's basically a PIR, and if it's so bright, it will turn those lights off around the windows because the daylight.
Yeah, he's doing the job of it. Yeah.
And over 5 years, 10 years, there'll obviously be a saving. So we're doing that, and it's just trunking in the ceiling, ceiling tiles and stuff, and we're mounting Greg's on, and we're just playing with the switch lines where it's on a switch, we're then just pulling them out, putting them through the sensors through PIRs. So we're doing loads of these. It's all over Christmas, actually. I was in my first year, and I was taking this Greg apart, took the whole thing off somehow, grabbed the comment on it. It was live. But there was 7 of us in, and my old bosses were doing all of the isolating and stuff. And I was too high on the steps, so I was holding on to the trunking to sort of balance myself. Tools in the mouth and then working with my other hand. So I ended up, because I grabbed the cables, I like locked on, and it was like the weirdest sensation ever, right?
Yeah.
Not like painful, but like.
Yeah, so it's a weird.
And I made this like weird, like, I don't know, reach or screw or whatever. And my boss was, so the consumer unit was literally like 2 meters away around the thing, and my boss was sat there on the phone.
Recreate the script.
Yeah. And he heard me and just hit the main switch, and I literally released
Locked on that.
almost like a
It
magnet.
was only like a couple of seconds, but like it felt like forever. But I went and then because he was literally stood there, he just went bang on the main switch.
What a
and I got,
legend.
like released. And like that was like the worst one. Like I sat down, didn't work for the rest of them. Like my arms were like throbbing.
They feel pumped, don't they? It's not a
And
it's
like
not
it was like if you've ever had a spasm, it was like a spasm in your hand basically. Like, locked on. But that's my worst one. But I've probably had like, I don't know, 11 or 12, which I'm not proud of, and I'll never have one again. I say that. So if I can,
do you know what? You're right though, aren't you? Because I think with it is learning, and like for me, I remember from a very early age, because I'm from a small village and the farm. We were always messing about on the farm, and I remember getting an electric shock then on the electric fence, which people go, oh, that's not bad. I'll tell you now, Paul, who's dead now, his electric fence.
Not by electric.
Oh my God! It was no, I don't think so. He's I would say old age, and he. Oh my God! When I whacked onto that was my first experience, and it's such a like what you're saying. It's oh my God, such a weird thing. But from in my job, I had one where, again, my fault really. When you're looking back at it from a third person, I should have locked off, and I didn't. And there was another. This was basically when I was on my own, and I was working on some lighting, and there was a bathroom fitter in, nothing to do with me. I told him the power's going off and the lights are going off, and he didn't like that. And I was up in the loft working away, and he just energised it back up, and we had words. And he went home, and I carried on. So it was but it really hurt. But it's so like for me with the apprentice, like Jack now is I'm very, very strict on him, and he's trying to drill that into him. Says use your voltage indicator, because obviously we all use volt sticks, don't we? Let's be honest, but they're not the most reliable thing. So I said just use it as a rough guide, but use your voltage indicator.
I think as well, like there's so much like awareness on safe isolation.
Yeah,
and it's amazing. You know, like, I really have nothing but
hats off to finance some of those companies as well that are
pushing it. Yeah.
But like when I was serving my time and coming up, 10 years ago now, which is crazy. It was nowhere near that, and it's good, it's so good, but like you can always take the moral high grounds. Like I've told that story from 7 years ago, and you can always take the moral high ground and say, Mike, you should have done this, that, and the other. But like, it just weren't there, and now it's coming there, and it's good. But I feel like it should be more and more and more.
Yeah, I think you're right with it, because I think with Instagram as well, there was a bit of a thing. It was it Safe September, or was it? I think that was the thing. But it was some people got their nose bit bent out of joint. Oh, it should be safe all the time. But it was just raising awareness. So I think that was a brilliant thing to do. And I think so now.
It's no different to November, isn't it?
Exactly. It's just to raise awareness, and I think it was great. And trying to get them into doing that, and just getting, like I said, trying to get Jack into. If you're working on it, you lock it off. I don't bothered, because if at the end of the day, if somebody's moaning at you, because let's face it, especially with me, when I'm working, I'll turn power off within 20 minutes. When's that going back on? Because I've got all the rest of the lads going, what's going on? Where's this? So so it's important. So, but what about you, Corey? Best shock or worst shock, shall we call it? Which way?
So I asked it, I probably should have thought about my answer. I'm not sure, to be honest. No, actually, I have wanted one quite recently. Last year. Wasn't too bad. I was fault finding on a lighting circuit, so I had it live.
Which is so much easier to fault find, right?
Yeah, oh, exactly, yeah. Like, that one. But it was a shock off the other circuit of all things. I was pulling down a thing and I was thinking, I can hear a rattle. I reckon there's a junction box up there. It was a junction box. I think at that point, this circuit was off. And I'm like, there's definitely a junction box. I put my hand up this little downlight hole. I'm feeling around. I find a junction box for another circuit. It was one of them horrible old biscuit junction boxes, and they hadn't put the lid on. And I put my fingers straight in it. I was like, oh, it's horrible. And I was up a ladder, and I sort of dropped. And I'm like, my wrist's stuck. But that wasn't too bad. I mean, I've never had like a really horrendous shock. Doing garden lighting once, I think someone, again, flicked a circuit on. I was on my knees on wet sand. That was a nice bit. Bang, RCD tripped. So,
but again, I think the message is that you can look back at this in hindsight and go, if I locked that off, it wouldn't have happened. And I think that's how important it is.
I've made expensive mistakes, though, don't get me wrong. I remember blowing up loads of batteries once in a UPS system. There's a string, like these 11,000 volt strings of batteries. And I couldn't have done it if I tried. Every single one of the caps had battery protectors on it. We were crimping them one end at a time. Shouldn't really do it, but it's like, it's safe. Unless the laws of physics change, you're safe. So crimping these things, and we'd just taped them up like stripes for what string it was on. And we're like, and there's an apprentice on the other end, and he's like, what string have you got? I'm like 3. And it was like, you got 3? He goes, yeah, I think so. And I should have said, No, show me, have you definitely got 3?
Yeah.
I've gone, okay, cool. And anyway, I end up chucking it. So thinking this is now disconnected, these strings, because you break them in half when you're working on them to just make it a bit safer. I chuck it. The one battery cover out of this whole thing that was missing, I hit it with the metal end of the lug on this big old, like, I think it was like 300mm square cable. Just chucked it and it went bang, landed straight on it. And I don't know if I can say it, what came out of my mouth. I parted my shants. Absolutely not something that I'd want to do again. Actually, let's cut that because that is an inadvertent swear word, which I'm trying to do, keep off of media. I don't know if I can say what come out, but it was not pleasant. I was definitely something I wouldn't advise doing again. I don't think I could have done it again for trying.
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? Because sometimes you often do things and you stand there and you go, you can almost get a premonition and you still carry on, but then you're like, oh, I should have really not done that because, but it's life, isn't it? Oh, it's amazing.
So what's the So the summary of today has been more than a radial. Talk to your mates, check on your mates, and hindsight is wonderful. Lock out, tag out. I think that's all round. That's a pretty tasty bit of material right there. And also, greed is what's wrong with this world. Don't forget that. So
it's trying to look after people, isn't it? And just be kind. And I think I know it sounds really cheesy, but I like it. But I think if you can just be kind to people, I think that's the thing for, like I say, with all the social media stuff, because there's a lot of negativity with things. But I think if you don't like somebody's install, rather than just have a go at them, just don't say anything.
But I comment and talk to people. And I'll see something that I think's wrong, or maybe someone's misunderstood or whatever, and I'll DM them.
Privately.
And say, look, mate, more to save you from
getting hounded.
Onslaught, but also potentially I can help you. I'm not trying to be a know-it-all, but I can't see from this photo, but it looks like this has happened.
There's a way around it.
Instead of going into the comments and just making both myself and them look like, but just be kinder to people.
Be kind, do good electrical work. Don't be greedy, and do what you can for the environment.
It's more than just a radio.
It is more than just a radio.
More than a radial. Thanks for watching, listening, consuming, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. And I'll see you on the next one. Thank you so much for coming on, guys.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Cheers, it's been fun.